I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Heavenly Father, we are thankful for your glory and majesty. We ask that you would bless this meeting, bless all those that are here and watching us. We are thankful for all that you provide for us. We're thankful for the rain, the snowpack. We ask that it would continue. We ask that we would have a slow melt in the spring and summer. We ask that you would bless us here, that there is a reason you gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth. We ask that you would give us wisdom, help us to make wise and prudent decisions. And Heavenly Father, I'd like to ask humbly that you would just use your miraculous powers and refill the Great Salt Lake, Lake Powell, and Lake Mead so we can get out of this drought. And I lift up these prayers to you. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Todd. Anyone else have a statement of belief or prayer they'd like to offer up? All right, we'll carry on here. Approval of agenda. Everybody looked at the agenda and we're good with the way it's lined out?
Yep.
Okay, I'm looking for a motion.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any disclosures and declarations of conflict for city council members and or the mayor? All right, we'll carry on. All right, consent agenda, review and possible approval of meeting minutes from February 1st, 2023, special city council meeting, February 1st, 2023, regular business meeting, and February 15th, 2023, regular business meetings.
Hey, Mayor, I can only read and not speak. So on item 2, I have a conflict
Oh,
on water meters.
oh, that's right. Okay, Ty conflict meters. Okay. Perfect. Let's go back to consent agenda then. Meeting minutes. Everybody had time to look at those minutes and make sure we're good.
Okay, Gary.
I
Okay.
move that we go ahead and approve the meeting minutes for February 1st, February 1st special city council meeting, and regular business meeting on February 5th.
Second.
There was a motion and a second. Any more discussion on the minutes? All in favor? All right, we'll go to department reports. We'll start with Ash Creek and then we'll go to Hurricane Valley. And then Darren, if you've got something, then we'll just go down the line there. So,
All right, I don't have a lot this evening. The Anderson Junction pump station is moving along. They're going to start demo on the old pump station tomorrow. And
real quick, how much on that pump station were you able to salvage and reuse? There's quite a bit, wasn't there?
yeah, there's a fair amount. We're
Okay.
going to take the whole roof,
Okay.
and there's a few beams in there we're going to take. What else?
So the actual wet wells,
The actual wet well
it's built into the
is
ground
built in.
basically.
Yeah,
Okay.
it'll just be filled in, crushed and filled in. But we use the same pump skid and a lot of the electrical as well as going in the new location. And then the bypass road is getting close, so I'm sure you guys know that. But that's about all I have.
Okay, how's engineering coming on the new sewer plant over at Confluence Park?
Good. We are pushing to have the 60% design done we're hoping April. So we'll get another quote at that point from Haskell when we get that done. So we're pushing hard to get it done.
All right. Okay, thanks, Matt.
Yep.
Merlin?
Okay, just a rundown of the totals for our call volume over here in Toker and Tokerville in for February. Total of 21 medical calls over here and 2 fire calls. For last month, there were about 730 plus for the year as of today. I think I saw 739, and we just had one as I was talking, and a couple of since I've been gone this afternoon. I was on the website, Tokerville City website yesterday, just looking to see the agenda today. I didn't actually see the agenda, but I knew he was having the meeting, just checking on that. And then I got on the burn permit site, and that's up and running. I clicked onto that. Starting today, that they shut it down today because of the storm. But if anybody calls the city office or stuff like that, if that site is working good, I just have them go to your site and click on that burn permit. And if it opens it up and lets them put in the information, then they should be good to go. They just fill that out, put their number, their address, and hit submit, and it'll put it into dispatch so they know that there's a burn going there for that day. But it has to be the day that you're burning. And then the weather index, you can kind of see on there. I clicked on that yesterday, and it actually give you like a week forecast. And that can change because of the weather, but it showed for the rest of this week, except for Friday, everything was up to about 1,000. So we need to be above 500 for burning. So that kind of gives you an idea. If say you wanted to burn Saturday, you can kind of look at it tomorrow, and it should give you pretty good odds if you can burn that day or not. So just let your people know when they that they log onto that site, and they can go through there. So that goes March 1st through May 30th, unless we get really, really warm and dry before then. But that's what we're looking at right now. But if we'll just keep the rains coming.
Yeah, this year we're gonna have a hard time burning anything.
That's all I have, unless you guys have anything for me.
I'm good. So just for the council, the fire district had a meeting yesterday, and the district board approved that the fire district go to a 48-96 shift. So they were running 24-48 shift. It means they work for 24 hours, off for 48, and go back to work to 24. So that's kind of an antiquated system. All the other stations, all the other basically fire departments in the state have shifted over to the 48-96. So we finally got Hurricane up to modern standards. So I think it's a
Be good.
plus. So, and then also just for, it's going to be coming up on the fire district. We had the big tax increase scare last fall. We have legislation, I believe it was passed today in the Senate. I'll have to double check, but we're going to take it off of, if that passed?
I just know that they was going to hear it tomorrow or Friday's the last
Friday,
day. So,
okay.
but they were like 113 on the list, but
Okay.
Just
But
depends on
yeah,
how
it
many
passed the
they pass.
House unanimously, so we're pretty certain it's going to pass the Senate. What it's going to do is it's going to take the fire district money off of property tax and put it on sales tax. So they're going to add like 1 cent to sales tax, 1 cent the most. So we're going to run the numbers and see where we need to be. So it's going to save a bunch of money. That's going to have a lot of tourists paying a lot more of that because they come here and spend money. The one thing it does not affect is gasoline. It won't add any money to the gasoline or food. So any kind of groceries we won't have, and food or gasoline won't have the increase on the sales tax. So
make sure you thank Joe for that too.
yep, Joe Eagleson, our hometown representative, was one at Ramrod that through really well. I've talked to some fire guys on the west side of the county, Ivan, Santa Clara. They're super excited because they think they can get the same thing with their district on that side of the county. So I think it's a positive, and I think it's going to save a bunch of people quite a bit of money in the long run on taxes. So
So question, did the change to a 4896, did it save money for the department, or is it a wash?
it's probably not going to save any money, but it saves headache and wear and tear on the guys. Merlin, you can.
Yeah, it'll save people staying here because everybody's going to where they can have that. If you work a 24-hour shift, and if you have especially if you have a busy night, the next day you're sleeping all day to recover, and then you have 1 day off, and then you're back to work for 24. I like to go camping, but I hate to take my trailer out and set it up for 1 day and turn around and bring it back. I think it's gonna be good. We've lost a lot of people to go to other departments to work that schedule, and you don't have as much. I don't know. There's a lot of studies. You get less. It seems like on your sick time, people just seem to be happier. But it can be a long 48 hours too. So
Yeah.
you got to get your rest and stay sharp still.
Any other questions for Merlin? All right. Sean's not here. So Darren, do you have anything for us from the Planning and Zoning Committee?
Not a ton of things, but let me just kind of talk about a couple things we got going on. So we are, contrary to rumor, we are still getting a lot of people kicking the tires just on our zoning development, all kinds of different things. And so we are going through, we're reviewing different ordinances, and we'll be updating those. As you know, Afton's working on some grants to help us with updating our zoning ordinances, especially in our chapter 10, which is our land use type of stuff. But if you want to go online sometime and check out our brand new zoning map that's been done by Sunrise, just go click on the link that we have in the exact same place on our website under the plans. Click on that, and it is an interactive zone map. Super fun, super easy to find stuff, and very informative. A lot of information there. We've got things coming through on Planning Commission next week, which will be new ordinances and some changes, things such as that. We'll have more to report on your next meeting.
Okay, perfect. Anybody got questions for Darren?
Were you just flashing the new one?
Yeah,
Yeah, shoot flash. That just tempted you.
yeah, just a teaser.
It's a little teaser. Don't want to show you that too much. It's a great thing.
All right, Afton, where do you?
All right, mine's really quick tonight. Just the financial report, we've received about 80% of our revenue, 75% of the year is gone. We've only spent about 70% of the budget, so we're on track financially. The Ash Creek Pipeline is obviously under construction from the Water Conservancy District. We reached the agreement, as you know, through council. They've got to go ahead and put our pipeline in their water going, and they started that, we're under construction, so that's good. And then the Parkway, obviously, we're finalizing the funding on package B. So hoping to have an answer on that very soon, and get that project out to bid as soon, or out to award it as soon as we can, get it under construction. And then moving on to that, he talked about some funding for grants just under economic development. We're currently working on about 5 grants all together. So working on one from the Office of Outdoor Recreation grant. They have a land acquisition, so we're looking into that, for acquiring some property around town. That's exciting. We're working on 2 different ones one through the Division of Drinking Water, one through Water Smart grants, the one for the general fund that we got, and going into the FEMA BRIC grant for our trails and building resilient infrastructure. So lots and lots of that. So those are up in the $400,000 range of total funding that we're working on through grants. So we're excited about that. It's a lot of work, but it's getting there. So that's kind of what I have. We have a calendar of events, but we can do that at the end if
Okay.
you want. So,
Yep,
yeah.
perfect. Attorney Snow.
Yeah, we've been working with staff and getting some ordinances ready so that they can start through the process with Planning Commission. And I've been working with Darren on some agreements that we need to get in place on a couple different projects. My understanding is the Anderson Settlers
Junction.
Yeah, they're about ready to start doing improvements in the old Highway 91.
Yeah, so we have done the pre-construction meeting for the underground infrastructure there. They should be they lack putting their bond together. We did get the conditional access permit from UDOT as of today. So they're good that way. But yeah, that their bond and just that MOU for the water line that goes through their project.
Also, by way of update, I've attended a couple of meetings. We're working on, I think that we've reached a tentative agreement for a resolution of some litigation that involves the city and the Conservancy District and over the Tokerville secondary water system. And the Conservancy District is trying to put together a draft of a settlement agreement. Devil's always in the details, but we're hopeful that will be resolved as well.
That's it?
That's it.
Oh, great. And Stanley Consultants, I heard tonight, not much is going on with the Parkway. Ty, real quick question on that. Do you know if they've got the irrigation tied in? It's done. Perfect.
Water
yesterday. They completed the tie-in, they had to put the air back on top, and then they were gonna test it. So that was supposed to all take place today, so they could have the water on Friday. That's why you got that email.
That's not irrigation, is it?
Yeah. Yep.
Oh,
Yep, that was irrigation.
There was others, but that was the one we were
Yeah.
talking about.
I thought you were talking about the 8-inch water line.
No, the irrigation up here by the
Oh.
upper pond with the crossing of the highway, so.
Yep.
So not that we've had to use irrigation water, so it comes on today, right, March 1st? Basically,
We posted, I think the email said we're
Yeah.
going to postpone it to March
okay,
3rd.
which is perfect weather not to worry about rain or watering your stuff. 'Cause we have enough rain on the ground. It should be good for 2 weeks. All right. Any questions else for Attorney Snow? All right, we're going to move on to our public forum part of our meeting tonight. So if you have anything, remember to state your name and address and limit it to 3 minutes, and anything that's not on our business items for this evening. So anybody have anything for tonight?
Yes, my name is Ray Betts. I'm at 370 West Shangri-La. 370 West Shangri-La here in Tocqueville. I just wanted to point out a couple of things. On February 1st, the City Council, against the recommendation of the Planning Commission, granted a zone change from residential to highway commercial in the Shangri-La Tocqueville Heights area on the land owned by Bob Litchfield. The story that we've been told is that the city built on his land without knowing that they did it. And then because they did that, they felt obligated or whatever to grant a change in zoning. But in other words, the city messed up and the neighborhood that's affected paid the price. No one came to us, asked us what we could do. Maybe we could have mitigated our loss. A decision was just made. And so what that did is that disenfranchised the members and the people that lived in that area and turned us from citizens into subjects. We were subjected to the will of those who made the decision. That's what we see in our federal government today. After looking at this in great detail and with many others, we found that the land was only worth about 10 grand. And so maybe the citizens of that area could have come up with the money and paid Bob Litchfield for that land that was owed. Instead, the city granted him highway commercial, which increased the value of his surrounding property astronomically. Now we've got a neighborhood that can have whatever is approved: gas station, hotel, highway commercial. Several people have suggested this was done on purpose. I don't know that, but it sure appears to be such. The area didn't qualify for highway commercial according to the Planning Commission. The question is, will this be applied equally to anybody else who doesn't qualify? Can anyone now say, well, even though I don't qualify, I want highway commercial? I mean, after all, there are several of us that have contributed to the city. It just looks kind of strange that, again, we are not given the opportunity to control our own fate. Homes are considered sacred. I brought that up before. Businesses are not. They're just not. After all, it's bad enough that we've got a highway coming through our area. Now we've got highway commercial, which I've been told through Jake Pert and others that they're going to want to put a trailer park in our neighborhood, an RV park, which means drugs, homeless people. That's usually what follows some of these. If you'll look historically, that's what happens. So thank you for your time. I would like to just want to point this out.
Thanks, Ray. Anyone else have anything? All right, we'll close this session of our public forum and move on to item F1. Discuss some possible action on deferral agreement for Jesse Olds, affects parcel number T49 and T53, and future lots 1 and 2. So I don't know if you guys saw that map. We did a lot line adjust or simple subdivision last 2 weeks ago. And this is just a simple deferral on sidewalk and curb and gutter until we do that on Ash Creek Drive. Is that basically right, Ty? So we've done these deferral agreements on lots of places around town. So we're deferring it until we get ready to do the road. Then we'll, at that point, they'll have to
Yeah.
get it done. at
All,
that
all the
time.
paperwork is in your packets as well, for the engineer's estimate,
Yep.
all of that.
So let me just ask this question. One of the things that we've done in the past is if it had existing sidewalk, curb gutter near it, like that they can mirror it or tie into it, we allowed them to put those in instead of doing the deferral agreement. I think it's on the opposite side of the road. It's on the east side, but not anything connecting to this, right? Like on the west, on their side of the road, it's a lot away. Is that about right?
It's a ways away, and there is no curb anywhere.
On the,
I'm sorry, it is just sidewalk.
yeah. on the
It's
west
just
side.
sidewalk. So establishing a grade along Ash Creek right now, it is very flat. If you were to just mirror what's existing on that and try to take that, you'd have bellies and you'd have bird bass and everything. The drainage would not work. Eventually the city would put together a project there, and design the road with drainage, put in storm drainage and different things. That's what ultimately needs to happen. But right now it is maintaining that country feel that a lot of people enjoy downtown, and the drainage is working with what's there now. So yeah, that's why they asked to not put that in at this point in time and do the deferral agreement.
Any questions on this? Anybody have any questions?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and second. Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, we're going to move on to item F2, discuss some possible action on converting culinary water meters to an AMI using Badger Meter software. So back to water meters. This is a touchy subject. Who wants to start? I'm looking at you, Joey.
Well, you know me, I think the original thing is that we wanted more data, right? So we wanted
Right.
more price comparisons.
Yep.
The other thing I'm not seeing is, this is all the master meter, right?
Yeah,
I haven't been part of the old portion, so I don't even know the price on the Badgers yet.
It doesn't appear to be in the file. Yeah, unless I missed it. So.
I don't see it, and also this came in, a little bit before the meeting, so we haven't really had a chance to even peruse this stuff, so.
This was, the stuff that was on your thing was, look, the bid we had 2 years ago with their 7.5% increase, just so we had something apples to apples kind of comparison or anything like that. So
But like Joey said, we don't have the
Badger.
Badger. And
Okay.
I did do a lot of research on it though. I've talked to a lot of people.
Talk to us.
From what I can see, it takes like in between 3,000 to 4,000 meters before the radio frequencies will actually start paying for themselves. That's just the gap, the data that I've gathered. After that, it'll start increasing that price. My big hang up, and I think, and I've talked to Justin about this a little bit, is if we can't put the towers in, if we can't find an allocation to put the towers in up front, because you guys have been down this road for 2 years, right? So we've been paying labor for 2 years already because we didn't put the infrastructure in to start with. So if we can't figure out how to fund the towers first, there's no sense of doing the meters. That's really, I don't see how it justifies it if we don't put the infrastructure in, because we can switch to Badger right now and start decreasing our labor overnight, right? As far as the meter availability, I still, and someone can correct me if this is wrong, the meters that are still not 100% available. The tops on the portion to change from a smart meter to or from a regular meter to a radio read are available, but the actual meters are not available in quantity. Like I said, someone may correct me on that.
So they, just for confirmation, I was with those guys today, 400 of them on the shelf.
400?
Of the,
Now, I didn't go in and count them myself, but that is good.
Why not?
of the master meter.
The meters were in Hurricane and he was in St. George, so, yeah.
So I had opportunity to go on a,
Meters or of the meters or of the registers?
Complete.
Complete.
By the Sonata-
Meter
the
with-
Sonata complete.
When did we get, where did we get
I don't know when they came in.
so I had opportunity to go out with Afton and JD and take a field trip and look at the different meters firsthand and see the pluses and minuses of both of them. I think part of the discussion is it's important that we adhere to some of the advice of our JD and Afton is what might be the best for the city. And also the fact that the Badger meters, and correct me, are also will be used or being used for the secondary water. Is that correct? Am I saying that?
They're not Badger meters. They
Okay.
are, they use Badger's input.
I'm sorry, the endpoint, okay.
We don't have to do anything.
So.
That's
but
where I was looking for the
Just a
clarification.
devil's
Thank
advocate,
you.
Todd, I
Yeah.
mean, you looked at a new Badger, but you did not look at a new Master Meter. I'm just, you didn't look at apples with apples, and I'm just bringing that up. You looked at an old system versus
Sure.
a new system when Master Meter has the same new system as Badger.
Is that right?
He looked
So-
at the Sonata.
Is that,
Okay,
yeah,
He looked at all of them.
okay.
Yeah.
So,
so,
however we go, I just want to make sure we are comparing everything
okay, yeah.
equal, so.
Joey, you were still in the middle of your stuff there.
Oh, sorry, Joe.
Well, no, that's fine. Really, really for me, if someone can tell us how we can fund the towers up front to get it working, then we're just gonna keep them
Right.
to Henry and Drive. And everybody that had the radio frequency systems without the towers said, throw them away. Like, that's it, like you guys are just spinning your wheels. And until you put a tower in there, it doesn't, it's not a system really, it's the old school stuff. So, that, for me, that makes the big difference on whether we can fund a tower right away and start making the system work, to where we can just start buying meters and make the system work. The second part is, to follow up on Todd's, is that, I believe the part, if we were to switch over TSWS back to the radio read, like, we're going backwards in time, kind of, we're taking a digital thing and turning it into a radio frequency. So there's 480, 460 meters, 1 inch,
On
2 inch, and
TSWS, yeah.
TSWS. We gotta count that cost in there. And if we can't put the tower in, we gotta put the cost of the labor in there. That's the real decision for me. The people that are using them, that have fully functional towers, like they said, they're awesome. Doesn't matter what system you have, you're still gonna have maintenance, you're still gonna have the same cap of 4G, 3G, radio, whatever it is, they're all going out. I did talk to someone about the TSWS system. I said, why did you guys go with a 3G or 4G or a cell phone data meter? And they said that they figured 3 towers is what it would take to cover 3 repeaters. So,
You mean one base station and 3 repeaters, or?
they figured with the topography, that
Right.
was 8 years ago, that it would take 3 towers.
Okay.
So
No.
that's what I know about it. I mean, I'm all ears for whatever tower we got or whatever. Like I said, I don't know how to appropriate the money to say, just build a tower. So.
Well, I mean, there's ways to get the money. I'm not saying, but I think the same water, if we get the smart water grant, it could be used for either system, right?
I'll weigh in on it on the end of it.
Okay.
As far as the financial. and-
Okay.
and
Okay.
Brian talked about that in just a minute, because there are actually some things like, so, well, I'll weigh in on the grant
Okay.
thing right now. First of all, I just wanted to kind of hear what people were saying, but, I actually would like to have a discussion about the financial aspect of this. And I'll let you guys continue, but just strictly talking about the grant right now, I would like to actually take the grant out of the equation. Those are not guaranteed funds.
Right.
And if it gets delayed, if it gets held up, if things, so I actually would like to talk about it, speaking solely on the money that we do have, the funding that we do have. So.
Chuck, you had something?
Right. Well, I'm looking for the best system like everybody else is. Best system from a physical standpoint of the equipment, the most efficient system, not only from the standpoint of how the information is gathered, but how much time it takes. Right now, it's my understanding, it takes us 3 or 4 days to read all these meters. And we have to have people go out on the ground and read them. And there's 2 or 3 different ways they do it. We're always trying to save money here, and we're always trying to make the best use of our people without having to hire more people. It sure seems to me that if we have people out on the ground
Right. That's what this.
several
that's-
times
yeah.
a month,
That's
they
what this
could
is
be doing
about.
other
Right.
things. They could be doing other things.
So
I'm
either
sure that Adam's
system-
got a long list of things for us to do.
Either system will do the same thing. You know,
Right.
we got to replace it. So, you know, so as far as that goes, that's the whole idea is getting rid of the labor of having to manually read, drive by, you know, having those problems. It just automatically.
Well, I'm
to
thinking
the city.
even a little beyond that is we get rid of the labor requirements. That means that the people who are doing it can do other
That's right.
things for the
That's
city.
right. Absolutely. And that
Give
takes.
JD more to do. He doesn't.
Yeah, he doesn't have enough to do now. So, no, what's the nice thing is you take all that labor that come off the water, now we pay them out of general, then our water fund grows up and we can put instead of taking labor out of that, we can put it, it'll just stay in the water fund, which I agree 100%. So yeah, what other discussion?
Okay, I made some notes on my end here. I'm with Joey as far as the upfront costs of getting the towers in. How long is it going to take to get those towers in? They're actually going to end up depreciating, not appreciating. And I know that Ty said in November, the last time we originally talked about this,
November.
every 8 years,
Yeah.
you're doing the whole thing over again because of new technology and this stuff aging out. So it's hard for me to think about investing $100,000 to $200,000 in a tower system, knowing that, and it's a radio system, knowing that we may be changing in about 8 years. And that tower system is just going to depreciate rather than appreciate. And the second thing is, I know that we've got funds that we are putting aside because we've got water tanks issues that, need to be taken care of. I don't believe we have enough money in that water fund to take care of the towers and the repeaters that we need. Now, last time we were talking about one tower and one repeater.
Right.
There's a possibility that we're going to need more towers and more repeaters, especially with growth. And I still am concerned about the dark holes that we have in this community that are going to require us to go out and manually read ourselves. And I know that I asked JD's here, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but he says that he's put the Badger meter in every single dark hole he could find in Tokerville, and it was able to read. So I don't know that we have that kind of a guarantee if we do a radio system. So, and then going with what I think Todd mentioned, our former person that used to take care of the water felt that Badger was a better decision than Master Meter. It looks like, and I kind of cornered JD on this, and if he had a decision, it would be Badger versus Master. And if Ruth had a decision, it would be Badger instead of Master. But I understand that ultimately that would be eliminated, that extra labor that she's doing. But today, I think it's running us about $3,500 a month in labor to do the hand reads. How many more months do we need to go by doing hand reads before we get the towers up and running and then start replacing the meters that we need to replace? And the other thing is, I feel like with TSWS conversion, I think we need to just be on one system rather than two systems. So I'm in favor of doing business with local businesses and keeping the money here in this area, even if Schultz's is in Hurricane. They've been a great partner with us, and they will continue to be. But on this particular product, I'm not certain that they're the best choice, and that's my opinion.
Perfect. Chuck, you got anything else?
Oh, that's plenty. Everybody's had quite a bit. We probably ought to have a
Joey-
motion before we discuss it.
No, we discussed all this.
One other thing that we don't have is, most of the municipalities that I spoke with, they were able to install this equipment with their power department or their own service vehicles or whatever it was. So the installation of like the tower.
Does that say installation on that for the base station and the?
It doesn't
It
include
just says-
installation.
It actually says installation.
Yeah,
of tower
that's-
base station.
Yeah.
And it says on existing poles, which we don't have existing poles. We don't have existing poles, we don't have power.
Okay.
Well, neither one of them would be,
Yeah.
right.
To get poles, we don't have power.
So they all had to stand their own poles,
Right.
towers, and then take them over the trucks and do that. So that would be an outside cost. It would cost them.
Okay, Afton, money us.
So, couple of things. We actually, you do have a quote from Badger Meter that's in your packet, and we were waiting to upload this PowerPoint until we got the information from Master Meter, from Schultz's. We asked for it right after that. I know that you went over there and met with the mayor and tried to get it and couldn't get it as well. Today at like 2:00 in the afternoon, they dropped this off. So it took us a long time because we had to cross-reference it. On the first part of their quote, they've got some prices that you'll see. This was what we received back in February when we asked for it. JD went over and asked for it. We've had staff call. And so we received this quote. You'll just see, Daisy, if you'll scroll to the next one. So this is the quote we received then. You'll see at the top of that, when you were just looking at the chat in front of you, it was the 4,200. This is the quote that they dropped off today. This is from 2021. All they really did to it, if you scroll down slowly, Days, you'll see they just said put approximately a 7.5% increase. So it was difficult for me to give you actual numbers because it's an approximate. If you'll keep scrolling down, we tried to cross-reference these two quotes and what we got on in February. They scrolled just a tiny bit. Scroll a little bit more. And so on here, you'll see these numbers, and then we're actually going to go into a PowerPoint after this. But if you'll just kind of scroll down through here, and you'll see all of these numbers and the things that are listed. You've got them in front of you. And then they totaled up what it would be with this increase. There are a couple of things that we're going to look at. This highlighted one right here. We're going to go through some differences between the two of them. This one, I want you to pay attention to this highlighted item. This is for the mobile app that currently exists on Badger as part of that program. This is an optional. And if you read on there, Days, you can zoom in on that. It just says, to scroll in a little bit more, and then go down to the highlighted access to my water advisor, the mobile app. I just barely received this information at 2:00, so I haven't had a chance to call Master Meter and ask them. But from what it's looking like is that access to their mobile app is optional and at a cost of the $7,800 plus the increase, the 7.5% increase approximate. So Days, if you'll scroll all the way down, there are a few more things that we're wondering on this, because as I total this up, you can scroll out just a little bit here. This talks about that this is based on 2,500 users. We don't have 2,500 users, so I don't know if these prices hold true. These are from 2021. You'll see that with the cost increase, this would have been about that line item right there. It would have come out to about 4,100. If you scroll all the way back up to that first one, Daisy, this is the issue we were having all the way up to the first Schultz's quote. Thanks. you'll see on that first line item, that's 4,200, so it's 4,100 rounded. So I wasn't sure if I should use 2021 prices, 2021 with a 7.5% increase, if I should take the 4,200, those are all three prices for the same line item. So it's a little bit difficult for me to give you accurate numbers. If you want to keep going down, Jace, to the very end here, you'll see that we just kind of, as we were trying to add this up quickly this afternoon, this would total about 104,000, which would look like it would be a great deal at that, but it's plus the meters, plus the poles, plus the power, plus some other stuff. So we were initially working on a PowerPoint for this, but we were waiting for this information so that we could compare apples to apples. Joey did obviously a lot of homework. I did as well, not only for these poles, we're gonna actually need to look at some land acquisition also. Darren and I have looked at that depending on where they go, if it's not our property. But just speaking openly, I guess, when we're talking about the financing of this, Daisy, I don't want you to pull this up on the screen. It has our bank account numbers and things on it, but I've included it in your packet. And so in there, what you will see is that the value of Tokerville City's water system currently is estimated at about $7 million, give or take a few bucks. But we're just going to kind of use some round numbers for this. So it's about $7 million is what our system is worth. Of that, when you look at the depreciation on this, we have accumulated depreciation of about $3 million, a little bit over that. And so what our funds that we have on hand, I mean, this part is a public budget. Our funds that we have on hand are about $1.3 million for cash on hand to bring the system back to whole. So you can tell right off the bat that we've got some work to do to make up that difference of about, $1.7 million between our depreciation, what the system has used up, what we've, pipes break, we have to fix leaks. And out of that, even out of the 1.3 that we have on hand, we've approved an expenditure for $100,000 for the Anderson Junction water line, which takes us down to about 1.2. I went and met with a couple of different people too. I went and met with the water engineers at Sunrise. I've met with some other cities. I went and met with the water district. I talked to Lester Dalton for a very, very long time today. It was great, lots of information there. And kind of where it is, like I said, I would prefer not to go down the route of banking on the grant because I don't like to bank on things that we don't have it. I feel confident that we will get one. Another thing to consider is that, like Gary alluded to, we've got to do some repairs to the Westfield tank. And those numbers are still coming in. And so that's quite honestly, that's a little bit concerning to me because it's an unknown cost that we're going to have to pay. So that concerns me about putting money toward infrastructure. And then outside of that, the ongoing wages. I don't know if the general public kind of knows how the budget runs, but just to be clear, we run the general fund. We generally keep the city running based on property tax. Then we have a capital budget, which is where we do new things like this. We approve permits, people impact our system, they pay impact fees. We use those to construct things like this. We don't have a lot of capital funds coming in at the moment because we don't have a lot of development or new things going on. It seems like we do, but we don't have those yet. And so there's that. I don't see that we really necessarily have it from a capital perspective. The other thing that we have coming out of the water fund is back in 2013, we took out a loan. The city did. It was $1.2 million. What we currently owe is $1.2 million. We pay $60,000 a year, which is a very manageable payment, and it's 0% interest. So it concerns me if we were to try to get a loan to put in infrastructure, quite honestly. So there are a lot of things kind of, as I look at things that can kind of close that gap, our other option is that we could raise water rates to pay for this infrastructure, which I don't think anybody really wants to raise water rates. Some of these bigger cities like Washington, they're spreading this cost out over 12,000 users. We're spreading it out over 700. And so to me, I mean, I obviously don't have a vote, but I do make recommendations based on budgeting, based on that. My recommendation would be that if you can eliminate the wages coming out of the water fund, they're $37,000 per year, plus the benefits associated with that. Those are currently coming out of the water fund. If you can take those wages, eliminate that labor cost, move that cost over to the general fund, and start paying those wages out of the general fund and having them, instead of going out, driving around town or staring at holes or whatever else, like we could move that to the general fund and have that start being paid for out of property tax. The general fund is operated by property tax. That's where we have a surplus of revenue right now, but even ongoing. That's where they take care of streets. That's where they take care of storm drains. They weed eat the park. They replace sod. They do all of those things out of general fund property tax. So I think if there's a way for us to eliminate those funds coming out of the water fund, anything we can do to reduce that and save the wages there by moving them over, that is, would be my recommendation from a financial standpoint. It gives people conservation, early leak detection, lots of things outside of that. But from a purely financial standpoint, I am concerned about putting money toward the infrastructure. The meters to me are sixes. There's lots of things about them. I even went through with staff and I said, look, I understand, like even what Gary's saying, if JD had a vote, they would be badgered. If Ruth had a vote, it would be badgered. Admittedly, as the city manager, I don't read the meters and I don't do our utility billing. And so I sat down with Ruth through a cycle of utility billing. It is very labor intensive. She hand enters every single one of those that come back. That is, a hand read. Where Badger, she logs in, hits download, and it downloads. That's it. We could probably get very close to that with this new system after we build the infrastructure. The other thing is, so I wanted to understand that from JD's. The other thing I did is went out on meter reads with JD to see how that works from start to finish. We're paying these guys to go out there and read these. Some of these meters, this is not even just now again on the radio reads, understandably when you drive by it doesn't. But these that are hand reads, some of these are on the opposite side of the fence in people's fields with their livestock. Like that's where we are. And granted, all of those problems can go away. They can be mitigated for sure, but we have to put the infrastructure in first. And I don't know how we as a city can pay for the infrastructure off of what we currently have. So we tried to put this PowerPoint in there before, and whatever you decide, and I've said this to the mayor, whatever decision you make, you are the council. But I don't see how we can put in the infrastructure without raising water rates. I just honestly don't. If you want to go scroll down to the next one, this one is very tiny, and we'll zoom in on it. But first, Days, I think if we just, since we're talking about budgeting, we'll get to features or pros and cons, whatever you want to call them in a minute. But Days, if you can kind of zoom in on this, go to the Badger one first, just for me real quickly. When we go to Badger, that wage cost of what we end up paying is about $60 a month total to do our utility billing. It drops our annual from about $37,000 plus the benefits to $720. In addition to that, there is this 93-cent fee, and we've talked about this a lot. I actually have spoken with lots of other cities. I spoke with them, and granted, like a salesman will just try to sell you, right? So we asked very specific targeted questions about this 93 cents, because one of the questions from council was, could this skyrocket? Could this just become an uncontrollable expense because we don't own the infrastructure? The rate is guaranteed for 3 years at that. They have long-term agreements in place where they cannot raise this more than 1% per year. So basically, we're talking about that price could go up by a nickel over 5 years. So saying that it's kind of a false concern to say that could just skyrocket to $5 overnight. Now, the other thing I'm going to say getting into this is that admittedly, I am not an expert in meters. I do not work in water meters. I'm not an expert in even the technology. I understand it conceptually. But with Badger Meter, these are the two costs that we would have. The cost to actually pay Ruth to download the data, and through that process, and then the cost of the cellular charge. This is kind of the cost. We have some Badger meters in the city. We've done a test group of them. We would need to convert 672 meters. This tells you the cost of the Badger meter. This tells you the cost for the endpoints. This is meter lids that we would have to replace, and then our setup fee. So you're looking at a total, that's the total project cost. The recommendation for this, because that is a large number for the project, the recommendation that we were thinking was that we could take this project and chunk it down, that we could handle this in chunks. We could handle it in 100 a month, we could handle it in whatever, 50 a month, we could handle it in whatever you decide, or if you go this way. So that at any point in time, let's say we get into this conversion, we convert 100 of them, we convert 200 of them, and something else happens, whether it's to a water tank or something else, we can just stop converting them at that point and still hand read whatever's left. So there's kind of some control with that I like. Is if you want to go on the other side to the master meter, and there will be people who are have way more expertise than me in this section.
Okay,
This is-
real quick, you're gonna hate me.
No, I won't
Okay.
hate you.
So go
I'm
back-
not
go-
gonna hate- I'm not going to hate you or anyone else over a meter.
I know.
guaranteed.
Go back over to me go back over to Badger if you would real quick, Daisy. So we're looking at 255,000 up front, if you do it all at once. And then we're looking at the $9,000 a year to read them. And which is great. That's cheap. But if we can't get them all converted, then you're still back to paying labor to hand read. So that kind of blows your,
Minimal.
Well, actually,
so.
If we do it strategically.
Yeah, we put all the bad meters. I agree. That would be the first thing to do.
That's the first thing.
Yeah.
And that was the map that JD had done at the last one that we had. He's gone through and mapped the city and said, this section is on hand reads. They should be converted first.
Absolutely.
They're,
Yeah.
these are radio. And then, yeah, he's
Okay.
done that. He's got a color coded map, which was in front of you last,
Yep,
in last.
yep. All
one.
right,
So-
go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Daisy. Slide back over to Master.
And we're still besties, so I don't hate you. And then if you look at on the master meter side, when we tried to do this, the 37,000, we did not include the benefits that we're currently paying toward this because we were just kind of
Well,
like.
now I got to stop you there real quick.
Mhm.
If this was converted over to the new ones, you wouldn't have the 37,000. So we got it, back to
Well,
devil's advocate. We can't.
yeah,
know.
I mean, yeah, hypothetically, I mean,
Right.
it's,
What I found out, I'll chime in on that too, is
yeah,
that even TSWS, they send someone over once a week to change out a reader, or sometimes twice a week. And the same thing in all the other ones, whether it's radio, whether it's
There's,
cellular data, they're always working on it.
oh, yeah.
Always up.
There's always going to be.
this that we have up here is just solely what we're doing for wages. And the reason we left the wages in there on this one is because we don't know when we're going to get the
Right,
infrastructure.
right.
So that's kind of like, so this is just under what council has currently told us to do. They told from a year and a half ago.
On
is-
either system, what I came up with is that every 10,000 meters is about 30 man hours. Whether it's the sensors or whatever it is, doesn't matter what system, that's just what it takes.
Okay. Every 10,000 meters.
Every 10,000 meters, about
30, that's not very many hours.
We've got, yeah.
Yeah.
And we've
that's-
got 700.
Regardless of the system. I think that all kind of functions.
Yeah, so the wages, that's what I'm saying. The wages could come, the wages could go, however you want to look at it. It's just that the facts are until we build this infrastructure, we're paying the wages. So anyway, if you go down from here and you'll just kind of see what this is right here, where these actual numbers have come from. These are two different numbers. One of them, this is the actual price of the meter that they quoted us, that it would cost to convert this. You keep scrolling down, Days. These prices that are here, starting with the 30,000 and going down, these are the same numbers that are on the Scholzens quote from that, or the master meter quote from 2021. And then in addition to that, like I said, it was difficult to get some of these numbers because some of them are the same line item, but they have different prices. And then plus the 7.5, increase in cost. So basically what we've done is we've taken all the numbers that were on that blue quote. We took anything else that was on the paper quote and we lined them up. There was only one line item for that. But if you scroll down, Days, the towers, we don't know. Land acquisition is not on here because I don't know where it we want to put them. But then with this estimated 7.5 increase, it comes out to this 310. That I don't know at what point we would be putting in all of these meters, because if we put the meters in and don't have the infrastructure, they become a hand read. So the labor cost is going to go up to go hand read these. So I don't know. I mean, it's like, it comes out to about 310, plus then we've got the unknown. That's an estimated. We would need Master Meter to come out and give us like an actual vote. The approximately 7.5% increase was an estimate from Scholzens. That's not from Master Meter. They would need Master Meter to come out and tell us that it's 7.5. I don't know. So what I'm saying in front of you is, I'm not saying that this is the gospel truth and these numbers are 100% on the Master Meter side. I do know those are the exact numbers coming from Badger. These are the best that we could do with the information that we got on the one sheet on February 2nd and the information we got at 2 o'clock today. So this is our best estimate of what we could do.
We figured a number. What was the number we figured for Master Meter for the yearly fee? We found it on.
Well,
You had it in front of me.
Yeah, but I don't.
There's an annual fee.
Yeah, and I think that was the wrong one I was looking at. I can't remember.
Yeah. So
There is still, yeah, there is an annual fee also on that, so. Okay.
So that's the best. And I mean, now it's up to you. Your council. It's your.
Do you know what that number is, Ty?
I don't.
How do we go to
Maybe
three?
a minute.
I think it
Take
says
a second.
Yeah.
1,300 a year billed direct from Master Meter after the first year. It's on the Schultzens quote.
Okay. That was something else I was looking at, Joey. That wasn't the proper number
Where was that?
earlier.
On the Schultzens quote that you've got in the SharePoint, about halfway down,
Yeah, 13.
it says 1,300 a year billed direct from Master Meter
Oh,
after
right
the
here,
first
okay.
year.
There you go. Okay.
There's things I really was going to point out. One of the comments that came up from council was building up local business. Keith James is a local rep for Badger, dear friend of mine, lives in Washington. He's local. And he is a fantastic person. He worked for Peterson Plumbing for, I don't know how many years before they worked for Public Works as a director. Great guy. Spoke with him for probably an hour a day. Local, close enough, Washington City. The things that bother me, City, I'm not gonna vote on this, obviously, because of my conflict with Schultzens. But we continue to compare old technology. Every time you've gone out, you've looked at old technology compared to new technology. That is a terrible way to make an assessment of what we're gonna do moving forward. There's no way around that. Everything I've heard has been based on that same thing. Master Meter can read the census meters, the endpoint can be changed over so that you can read the secondary system with the Master Meter, with Master Meter's endpoint. So you can eliminate that duplication thing, which is exactly what Badger's doing right now. You have a census meter using Badger's technology to transmit on the backside. So you can do the same thing with Master Meter.
So hold on, let me make sure I can
But if you
understand.
transition over, yeah.
Yeah,
you
so
can transition them over.
the secondary water system, you could use the same system to read both master meters or the secondary. water.
With an additional cost, so
Right.
just be very mindful of that.
Okay.
The other things that are very frustrating is we made motion to move forward with something years ago and we never did. And unfortunately, that's on staff. I can't change.
Unfortunately,
anything.
that was before me.
Oh, yeah.
But, and it's in the past, but we made motion to move forward and nothing ever happened. And then as of our last meeting, we very quickly said, we want more quotes. I have 2 quotes here. I have a Badger quote and a Master Meter quote, and that's it. And these are the same people we've dealt with. There's probably a dozen meter companies, and lots of them that do radio read, lots of them that do fixed base stations, and we have this one. I spent time with Highland City and Clinton, and they're on fixed base systems with census meters, and they cannot say enough good about them. And we're not even looking at those options. So I guess, again, I'm not voting on this, but when we start working through this, we're making a commitment that's gonna last, we won't replace it all within 10 years. I'm not naive to that fact. No city does. But it's a commitment, and who we're moving forward with for $250,000 is a pretty big deal of what decisions we make. So I just think with those items, I just feel like I can't worry about the fact that, Ruth, I know that you shook your head, and I apologize, but we did talk about moving forward, and we just never did it. And that's not directed at anybody specifically.
mean, I
Well,
wasn't the
we-
treasurer, so I don't know. but I
Yeah,
know
well,
that-
but the council had made motion to move forward and the staff at that time, which wasn't you, which wasn't JD,
Yeah.
Right.
didn't move forward. And so we're adding up all these things and it's like, we were trying to not be in this situation, but we're in this situation. So that's a little frustrating. And then when the council gives direction to go get more proposals and we don't do that, we come back with the same ones. And hey, shame on Schultzens. You guys should have had this months ago. That's not the point. Then it's just one proposal from Badger. And for sure, Mountain Land would have quoted it through census. Ferguson would have quoted, like, there's lots of other people that would have bid it and we didn't. So those are the things that as we've had this conversation, but I did want to clear up, you couldn't deal with a nicer person than Keith James. If you've never met him, he's a fantastic man and he lives locally. So
He's with Badger.
he's with Badger. Yeah. So Dave Welch is I think is he a principal in it? JD? I think he's a principal. And he used to be the only guy that covered the southern part of the state. And they hired Keith about a year ago from Don Peterson at Peterson. He lives in Washington. So a great guy, and he is local. So
Ty, let me ask you a question. Knowing that down the road, we're going to inherit the TSWS system. If you're looking at 6 different options, how many of those options are going to tie in so we don't have to turn around and replace all the TSWS?
without
as well.
doing a lot of digging, and so this would be a guess, I would guess you could probably find somewhere between, obviously there's 2, I would think you could probably find 4 to 5 of maybe half would be able to interread, because that's becoming more and more common because municipalities are having to do dual systems. And then the electrical side of it, there's municipalities that are reading the electrical side, irrigation and culinary and irrigation and power all at the same thing. So trying to make those communicate better is becoming a bigger issue than trying to be isolated and only mine. Does that make sense?
And I don't think, like even if we went with the radio frequency, it would be crazy to go change that 400 meters out. For the TSWS.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, why would we just incur that cost
Mhm.
for such, end user points are in, they're all
Yeah.
paid for.
And part
It
of
would
the
be
thing,
crazy to change, even if you had 2 systems, it would be insane.
and responsibly, what we should do, just like, the citizens here, that we only have 1.3 or $1.4 million in depreciation for the water system. We started that 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Right, 5 or 6 years ago. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, we're doing a good
Right?
job.
So
We
we're
had
doing
zero
good things.
depreciation
And really,
until then.
if we were more proactive with our meters and with our system, and now that we have staff, we have the ability to do that, you wouldn't wait 8 years. You would go 5 years, and when the technology's improved enough, then you would just start, all your new meters would start being the new system that's out, and you would just continually be adding meters and technology to the system as you go. And then you're never taking this $300,000 hit or $255,000 hit all at once. But it takes discipline and it takes the understanding of what you're trying to do because it never goes away. In the old days, you went and bought a meter, put it in, walked away from it, and you hand read every one of them. Technology was the meter reader's got to read faster, but that was it. And now we're at a point where technology is going to continue to improve, and that technology may be that it's cellular, it may be satellite, it may be radio, like it could be a numerous options. I don't know what that's going to be. So I don't know the answer other than I would guess that it's not so much about sole sourcing anymore. It's more and more of them are trying to communicate one with another. And that's made a bigger difference. So I think maybe half, but I would have to do some research to tell you for sure. So Mayor, that's all I have.
Okay.
How did, AZ, can you bring up the master meter, page 3 at the bottom? Okay. You had it. Go down. Yeah, that one, where it says 104,617. How do we go from that to 300,000 on your PowerPoint?
She totaled up all the meters, the 720 meters. Yeah.
So this was,
That's just for the radio system.
That's the
this is just for the
radio,
radio system?
Yeah, he gave
the
you
software.
request for one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
So she added them in.
Okay.
Kind of like with what Ty said just a second ago, if you're really doing the job of continually updating, is radio frequency going to be the future? Because if we're seriously going to spend over $70,000 on a radio frequency and get an FCC license and be in the radio communication business, because that's what's gonna happen. We're gonna be in a communication type business, then why are we not jumping to the next one? That's kind of like with you saying that
It's 100%, and at this point, Master Meter has a cellular too, but that's not what they're pushing. So that's why I'm saying technology is gonna
it's just gonna
improve.
keep changing.
And I think it really depends on, you budget out for, the master meter at, what was that? I don't know what the number was. But you budget out for that with putting her 700 units. Well, 700 units right now to pay, say it's $1 a month, right? For that use fee for the Badger. Well, when we have 5,000 residents, well, now you're talking about some real money.
5,000 a month, now you're 60,000
So
a
then you
year.
talk about the depreciation side, and it's like, well, at least we have an asset, even though it's depreciating. We're not just throwing, if it's 5,000, that's the other side.
Right.
And Joey, I didn't do the math. I'm not even gonna go down that path. There's gotta be a place where it balances out. But
What scares me is putting a couple $100,000 into something that 5 years from now,
Yep.
we're gonna say, we're getting out of radio, number one. And the second thing that scares me is I don't know that we know that every nook and cranny is gonna be eliminating a hand read,
I don't think we do.
you know?
I think that prop study that they did is probably as good as we're gonna get.
Right.
But I don't know, is that, we didn't go put meters down in, right, where's the worst ones? Probably down some in Cholla.
Some down the Bay Bomb Shangri-La.
Yeah.
Some down the Bay Bomb Lane.
And
And we
staff
know
put
that
them in
we're-
those holes, so they worked.
Yeah, and so on one hand, we have a history right now that Badger's getting every nook and cranny with the technology that we're using. When we're moving into spending a couple $100,000 just for towers and so on like that, infrastructure, not knowing what the end result's gonna be and ending up maybe with some egg on our face down the road. It scares me.
Where's the depreciation on the Badger system?
Well,
Just the meter
It's just gonna be
itself.
the meter for depreciation, because there's no
What you
infrastructure
have to
being
do is
built.
take the cost per month.
Yeah,
That's
monthly
part of the-
cost,
Part of the
yeah.
depreciation.
But
But
it's
you're
not.
gonna.
And really, thought that, I would tell you that the depreciation between a master meter and a Badger meter are sixes.
Yeah,
Right.
you're so
It's
so
the
and
infrastructure
the
that's the
infrastructure, so
problem.
there is not really a infrastructure
Depreciation
depreciation
there's
on
not.
the Badger, just on the master meter.
Yep.
Okay.
And when I looked at this 2 years ago, it was, we own the infrastructure, it's an asset, we own it, we
Right.
control it, or we grow, we get 5,000 homes, now we're paying $60,000 a year in reading the meters versus we've already paid for the system. We're reading it for almost nothing, basically. So, but that's,
How many
so.
meters do you need to, like, get away from the labor intensive stuff? Like if we had the tower out, or if you went straight to Badger, how many meters do you?
So just for the hand read part, there's just over 200. So.
Okay,
And, how long will it be to take get the towers in?
right. Oh, yeah, it's not gonna be overnight.
$3,500 a month for labor.
Yeah.
So
So-
staff, is there a reason we didn't get another, instead of me being accusative, is there a reason we didn't get other proposals when we
We
had
were
asked
not
for
told
that?
to.
Yeah.
Gary said he wanted
just
to
said
compare the
the
Badger.
numbers
Well,
for these two.
Gary said, we
That's what I
told
heard
him,
too, it's like, I didn't think we
Gary
were going after
said,
it.
nobody told us to get any more. But Gary said that he wanted to see a comparison between the Badger numbers and the master meter numbers. That was the motion. We were never told to quote other companies.
The one thing about all the cellular, like, it's seriously logging into this company and downloading it, or logging into this one and downloading it. So like if we switch digital companies, and that's not that much longer. I know it's not great to not have a standardized thing, but most of the cities I deal with have multiple different meters because they work better in other areas. Some have AT&T, some have Verizon, some have, like it's.
And we have with the Badger meter, we have the ability for any of the providers, or is it contracted through Verizon or?
My understanding is contracted through Verizon.
They have are you talking about for Badger?
Yeah.
Badger has two different cell phone companies that they use so that they always have.
So it's
They have
either,
multiple agreements, right,
Okay,
and then they have a
perfect.
backup that if the cellular doesn't work, then you can go out with a tablet and do, if you needed to do hand raise, they have a backup. system, but
Okay, well, I'm looking for a motion. We beat this and beat it and beat it. There's water running out of it, so where are we at?
Go ahead and give you a motion. All right. I move that we accept the Badger system and convert to the Badger system for our meters and our software for our meters.
We need to put a cap on how many per month or how.
Well, the system's gonna grow, so it's, you know.
Can I, yeah.
Are we gonna be able to see
if
10
we're
years
gonna,
down the road to cap it?
if we're gonna,
Yeah,
if we're gonna do a motion,
Yeah.
I'd like to just say one thing.
Okay.
Let's just, if you're gonna go with Badger, let's just get the hand reads handled first. Buy what we need, let's say 100 a month, that'll take care of the hand reads. And then tape it down to, let's say $50 a month,
50 meters.
50 meters a month. And if we have the money, we can go up to 100. If we don't have the money, we can go down. It's flexible. We can install them as the money's there. But I think initially we need to go with 100 a month for 2 or 3 months to get that labor out of here. And so I don't know if that motion can include that or if we just leave it as the way Chuck said it.
Yeah, Chuck, so do you want to modify your motion?
No, not actually. And there's a motion on the floor, so you
Right,
get a
right.
second or you vote it down.
Yeah.
And then we have discussion.
Okay.
Supposed
So
to
Chuck
come
has a
after the
motion. His motion is to approve that we change to Badger meters and go with that system. That was his motion.
I'll second it.
Okay, now we have time for discussion. So,
We've had 40 minutes of.
If we can afford 100 a month until.
okay, so there's our discussion.
For 3 months. That'll give us some backup, some other problem issue things. And then- Can we afford that?
Does that motion need to be changed then? Is
So,
that-
yeah,
do
so
we have
that's-
to
no.
Spell it
We're
out?
gonna amend it.
Yeah, if you're gonna do it, you need to do it like conservatively, but what? He
That's
said-
30,000.
He said, yeah, he said 100, so we do that.
So, okay, so we've got a motion on the floor. We'll just go to the Badger system. If we have to either modify the motion or vote on that motion, and then we could make another motion.
Yeah, if Chuck wants to amend.
So, or you want to amend your motion?
If somebody wants to amend the motion, make an amendment.
Yeah, friendly amendment.
Yeah.
Okay, so,
Joey, do you want to amend it?
I'll amend it to include up to 100 meters per month for 3 months. And then how do we proceed down after that? You want to just, then at that time, we'll add them as needed.
As needed, yeah.
As needed.
well, I'd like not, if we're going to do it, let's get it done. And if we've got the money, because we're still going to have to drive
Well-
by, you're still going to spend labor.
Okay, then so as needed
So-
might not be the right word.
No, I don't.
I would just, what if the motion just said at the 100, not to exceed 100 a month?
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, I'm good with that.
Okay, so Daisy, did you get all that figured out? So the motion is to move to Badger and not to exceed 100, more than 100 meters a month. Does that sound right, everybody? Okay, we have a motion, we have a second. All in favor?
All right.
Aye.
All right, motion's approved.
Daisy, I abstain.
All right, so so we're done with our business items, Cower event. On Tuesday, March 7th, we have a budgeting strategy session. We did this last year in Laverton, but we have a spot over here to do it. So it is from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Public is welcome, but it's not an open meeting, so you can come and listen, but it's not there for any comment from the public at this time. Somehow,
Is there lunch? It's right in the middle of the
Yes,
lunch.
It is.
Okay.
there,
We did lunch last year. You were out
Yeah.
of town. You did.
so they
Will it
will
be
feed
here?
you. It will be at the Springs Event Center. Sorry, I didn't say that. Springs Event Center on Springs Drive. Somehow there's a State of the City Mayor's Address that I guess I'm aware of now. Just kidding.
Been there for a month.
So
So
what,
I'm going to do that next Tuesday.
what are you going to talk about?
I'm going to talk about how awesome the city is and all the great things coming up in the city and how awesome our new staff is doing at the city office. That's my main.
Is there a way that we can help the citizens understand the need for
Development?
development and revenue tax revenue.
Yes,
Because,
that's,
I mean, that's what the major issue is in this city.
yeah. And how about
Yes.
property owners' rights?
Well, you can stay away from that for right now.
No,
And-
I don't think so. You know me, I don't say like anything.
Okay, but I'm just saying that, the council's trying to balance between the two.
Yep.
Yep. And just talk about that balance if you can.
Yeah, I'm not, I am gonna run for election, but if I don't win, I don't really care. So I'm gonna talk about what needs to be talked about.
Right,
So,
Ken Powell said that and he got reelected.
yeah, right. All right. So that is all right. Item 3, Springs Community Cleanup, Friday, March 17th through Monday, March 20th. That's our dumpsters. We have them around town. We'll have one up on Tocqueville Heights, and we'll have one at Anderson Junction extra. So that'll be great. Spring Social, Wednesday, March 29th, 2023, city, that is at Center Street Park. That's a Wednesday evening, 5 to 7, hot dogs and
Yep, city
Okay.
council, it's just.
so hopefully all the city council members
Yeah.
can be to that. We have a community Easter egg hunt Saturday, April 8th, 2023 at Center Street Park at 10 a.m. We have a,
Hunt for the golden egg. for the
Yes,
older
and that-
kids, and that'll start at 9:30.
okay, so at 9:30, older kids, it's
9:30. they need to be-
11 and above or 10 and above?
It's for, no, it's for 13 to 17.
Okay, 13 to 17 year
For the
olds.
teens.
It's hunt for the golden egg. It's kind of a
$100.
$100. You're not 17.
It's a big giant egg.
Maybe mentally, but not physically, Joey. So,
Yep.
all right. And the last item on our thing is Tocqueville City Farmers Markets. First one we're having is May 20th. Let's see if we can support that. I'm already working on things to bring.
Is
Maybe
there a
some-
$20, it's
Yeah.
$20?
$20, and that includes your canopy and everything, so it's.
Okay.
After, how did that finish out the year? Like,
It's actually really good.
so the first one was a little light, did they get
Yeah, and then-
continually bigger?
Then they started getting bigger, and then at the last two, we gave away some booths at the very last one, and it was probably the smallest one we had.
The last one was?
Yeah,
It was October, right?
yeah, it was
Yeah, it was-
cold.
it was
It
late.
You must not have
really
brought
cold.
cinnamon rolls.
I didn't.
That's
I
it.
know, I know, but I'll get some booths up there, so.
Make sure the
And I have
Williams.
cinnamon rolls, so
Well,
I-
Yeah, make sure they don't-
One of the things we've got permission to do, not just us, but others, we can put put signs on the fence
Yeah.
so the people driving
Oh,
by can see
perfect.
what's going on.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Right now, they don't see it.
Great idea.
Yeah, we're already on it.
And we have a fan that blows the cinnamon roll smell
Out onto the road. Perfect. Perfect. All right. We do have need of a closed session this evening, executive session. So I need a motion to,
Mayor, I move that we go into closed session to discuss character, strategy for implementation and purchase of property.
Second.
okay, I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Okay.
That's right.
We've got a 5-minute